Do you want your data to have maximum impact? Then set the emotional hook. Do you wish you could present your data and be confident your audiences get it? Data is synonymous with science and engineering. Oftentimes that data is used when money is at stake. Our speaker earned a PhD in physical chemistry and has been a scientist in industry for many years, working on things from airplane materials to cancer diagnostics to Colgate toothpaste. Over that time, his data was often used when money was on the line. Our speaker runs a consulting business, Speaking Science, helping countless individuals and organizations take their data and communicate a clear and memorable message. In today's presentation, you will learn to set the emotional hook, an essential element when you want to make an impact with your data. Help me welcome Dr. Nick Milanovich.
If you ask a scientist, how do you go about presenting your data, you're going to get some interesting answers. For example, I have a friend, Mark, who's a great microbiologist. He one day said to me, saying, Nick, take a look at this presentation I'm going to give. I'm giving it next week. So I'm looking at his slides, and here's a lot of slides, a lot of data. It's cutting edge work. It's the latest in his field, the latest data in this field. And I'm thinking, wow, very cool. Some university invited him to give a talk at a department seminar. You know, one of these 1 hour long seminars, you're talking to people in your own field. I say, where are you giving this? He says, it's an internal presentation. It's like, really? He works at a company where there aren't many microbiologists, so I was surprised. So who are you giving this to? It's like, oh, there's just a few people, they don't know anything about microbiology, and I got 20 minutes on this. So you're going to do that in 20 minutes? So yeah, I'm just going to read the slides really fast. A week later, I asked them, how'd it go? So, oh, it went great. So I was able to get through all of that in 20 minutes, and they understood everything. How could you tell? It's because they didn't ask a single question. There's another example. I had a boss named Mike, and this was one of my first jobs out of school. And he says, he's trying to tell me how to present because we have to present to management. He says, Nick, I'd like you to bring me some more of that data. This is not enough. And he really talked like that, by the way. So what do you mean it's not enough? That's all the, that's the good results. It's like, well, I need the other stuff too, all your other experiments. It's like, what for? So why do you want to bore him with that? So, you see, you're new at this. You got to understand. We want to show that we did a lot of work. Now, you ever in a situation where you think it's really a bad idea? You're hearing a bad idea? He goes in, he's presenting to the COO, the Chief Operating Officer at a Fortune 500 company. And he starts talking. And he has one piece of data, and then another one, and then another one. And I love COOs after this situation. She says, Mike, where's this going? Saying, hurry up, get to your point. So, okay, I'm getting there, I'm getting there. 2 more slides, and she says, okay, I've had enough, sit down. She told him to park it. Now what do you think? Mark's and Mike's presentations had impact, didn't it? The kind of impact a locust has when it runs into the windshield of a car moving down an Iowa freeway in the summertime. But it doesn't have to be that way. So you ask, what should you do instead? How should I think about my data, present it in a way that is impactful? Not locust impactful, but meaningful impactful. Well, there is a way. It's a fantastic little trick. It's not really even a trick, it's a technique. And not only does it work for scientists, It can span all of speaking, from talking to academics to talking to civilians. You can use it when you're developing products, selling products, or pitching your company. Very simple. And I'm going to tell you, and you don't even have to write it down, because it will be memorable, repeatable, and very impactful. And in fact, the more money that's at stake, the more useful this technique is. Are you ready? You don't need to write this down. It's memorable. Number one. Number one, you're going to set an emotional hook. You're going to hook your audience's emotions. Some people may call it a grabber, so you grab their attention. In public speaking, you'll hear that too. You also, journalists will use that too. Get my attention first. And once you get the person's attention, then comes the data that validates that emotion you've set. You choose that data carefully. And it has to be meaningful to your audience and address that emotion. There's a great example of this, probably the best one. I still get excited when I hear about this one. I was working with clients at University of Washington. They had several groups, about 18 of them, all pitching their ideas for little seed money to start companies. And this was an event that was going on for a couple of days. We were in these pitch sessions, and various consultants were brought in to address different aspects of what these people were presenting. So I was listening to the pitch, and about the 13th group to come in, and you imagine how kind of tired and sleep-laden, you can't stand sitting there with any more cookies, eating and drinking any more coffee to stay awake. It's very exhausting. And then comes this group, two guys, Derek, the CEO, and his co-founder, Tom. They have a tool to help surgeons to keep honing their skills as they continue on in their profession. And Tom, the surgeon, was up there speaking. And one of the first things he said was the way he was trained as a physician, as a surgeon specifically. He was a robotic surgeon. He said it was very, very simple-minded training. I do some classwork, watch some videos. They give me a mentor, and I can pick anybody. So I picked a surgeon friend of mine, and all he has to do is see that I've gone through all of this work, and then he signs off on it. As soon as he signed off on it, the very next morning, I was scheduled to do a surgery on a 9-month-old baby. As soon as he said that, the lady next to me, who happened to be a parent, gasped so loud I went deaf in my right ear. It got everybody's attention. The lady next to me was freaked out. And what did I think? Yes, that is the emotional hook you want. That is the granddaddy of emotional hooks. You could hook Moby Dick with this thing. And it was brilliant. So one of my feedbacks is keep that story. It will get everybody's attention. You will succeed every single time with that. And they have. They've used it. Not only that, I talked to Derek recently, last week as a matter of fact. He says, yeah, we still use those stories all the time. It always gets attention. And they follow it up with data. And they choose the data depending on who they talk to. So if they talk to a patient, they're going to tell you that you're 3 times more likely to have complications from surgery if the surgeon doesn't keep up their skills, get retrained, learn new techniques. 3 times more likelihood of complications. 5 times more likelihood of mortality. If he talks to a hospital administrator, he may mention some of that, but he says, your surgeons are spending twice as long in a hospital, in the surgery, than you want them to by not keeping up their skills, keeping them sharp, keeping them up to date. They're spending twice as long. It hits home every time. When I was working with Derek and Tom, they weren't even a full company yet, and they were looking for $50,000 in seed money. 4 months later, they're pitching for millions and going strong. So ladies and gentlemen, set that emotional hook. It will catch your audience's attention. Follow it up with data. I guarantee you, whether you're speaking to academics, whether you're developing products, selling products, or pitching your company, your presentation will have an impact